What's up, guys? It's me, Mad Samurai 84 here for March editions of PS Plus Plays. We've got 3 games this month. I technically own one of them as a physical, but never played it. The other two I've never played before, and technically 3 PS4 games and one that's a PS5 game. One's a PS4, PS5, whatever you want to say. Basically, I've just played through these games for a bit. Can I give my final thoughts whether I think it's a good game and a good offering? Really, say what I do like about it, what I don't like about it. Just commentary, just talking a load of rubbish, mostly, and yeah. So 3 games, and they all kind of vary. Anyway, let's jump in and play these games, and let's see if March is going to be on par, better, or worse than the previous 2 months of the new year. So let's see. Now we kick off March with Minecraft Dungeons. This was released in May 2020. I have never played a Minecraft game. I've seen some people play it, but I've never played it. So this will be my first Minecraft game I've ever played. So this is basically a very simple, repetitive dungeon crawler with just a Minecraft skin. It controls very well, so you won't have like a problem just jumping into it straight away and going, oh, what do I do? It's very easy to just jump in and start playing it. But there isn't much where this game really excels in, but there are there are a few stumbling areas, I would say. Visually it looks okay, but still, Minecraft has this weird, outdated look type thing going on about it, and they've never done anything that's fresh and clean. It would be not interesting to see, but it does look rather outdated. There's nothing that's going to blow you away. But if it was something from 1998, it looks quite good. But that is Minecraft, and that is what it is. Really, it is that's their signature in a way. That whole blockiness, kind of low texture graphics, if you want to say it like that. One thing I did find is another stumble with this game is the gameplay. While it's actually quite fun to start with. It does become rather repetitive, and are slightly on the boring side, and you will be looking to probably just doing like a single playthrough if you make it that far. I was playing it, I was like, oh no, this is alright, and then after I've done the second level, done the third level, and I'm like, it's getting a bit repetitive and boring now for me personally. But you may get probably more enjoyment playing with others and not playing in solo, because you can do that. You can play with 4 people, including yourself, of course. So that'll probably actually be a bit more fun. I was tempted to platinum this, but when I kind of had a look online, I saw that it required multiple playthroughs, and it would take around 20 or so hours. I decided against wasting my time on something that isn't really aimed at me. I can understand if there's people like it, but playing it and I kind of just go, not really my bag. That's not to say there's nothing good about the game, because it is an okay game, but it's just okay, and it will get repetitive. If you love dungeon crawlers and you like Minecraft, then this game might be one of the best games you've ever played. But for me, it's just okay-ish, really, just okay. And when you look at its Metacritic, so this is a PS4 only game. It wasn't on PS5. It sits at 78. While I think that is probably too high for the game, I can actually understand and see it kind of getting that kind of 7 odd out of 10. really, from people. And when you look at its user score, it sits at 6.2, which I can probably see as that being more kind of probably accurate to the game, really, because it's there, it plays well, it doesn't look too bad and all that. It just gets very boring and repetitive, and yeah. And if you're playing solo, then it's just going to get even boring even quicker. So, thumb scores, that's the thing to think of. As a game score, I feel like it's an alright game. It's not great. It has its boringness to it. So I'm just gonna give it a quarter of a thumb up. That the whole. I was tempted to give a thumb in the middle, but for me personally, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not into Minecraft. I do feel like it's an okay game, but it's just there's probably a lot better dungeon crawlers out there, and for me, having that, it is that kind of 6, 5 out of 10 type of game, and I feel like a quarter of a thumb up is probably on the very low end of this game because I could have easily just given it a thumb in the middle, but I'm just going to stick with the quarter of a thumb up. As an offering score, well, technically it's nearly about 3 years old, so it's not that old, but I just don't feel like it's that great of an offering to us, to be honest. So I'm going to give it a quarter of a thumb up. I feel like it's perfect if you got kids to play, but I think it's rather a weak game to be giving us. It's just like, firstly, it's a Microsoft game, so they must be like, oh, they've done a deal with Microsoft to give it to us. And Microsoft, like, yeah, right, okay, how much? Good on them. But yeah, I just don't feel like it's a great offering to like the general gamer, really. So I think a quarter of a thumb up is kind of what this game is worth in my eyes. Now, our second title for March is Code Vein from Bandai Namco. This came out in the September 2019, so it's about 3.5 years old. And this is the title game where I have a physical copy of it. Don't worry, did not buy it when it first came out. I didn't pay full price. I got it very cheap, and it was something I was kind of gotten off, kind of wanted to kind of had do a playthrough run of it kind of soon, just to kind of like knock it off the list, really. But this is just basically a Dark Souls inspired game in like a anime skin. Now I personally suck at Souls games, but I have slowly got into this. My only big problem is that the much needed grinding, leveling up of your character stats to even like attempt against any strong enemies is just rather tiring for me. I haven't made much progress, but I have kind of enjoyed my time and frustration with this game. It looks like a rather standard stock of a Japanese anime feature, like visual type game. The character designs are well done, and the apocalyptic setting is great. And when you see the landscapes and there's distance, when you get into some views and you get to see it, it gives you like a great sense of what the heck happened here. And yeah, it was very good. Like one thing I did feel like with like the whole character design is like because you can customize your characters with the hair and this and that. I do find like I do get annoyed when you can do the whole putting on different types of hair and then you put it on and then it's and you're like there's parts where your characters wear these masks and the hair is just clipping through the masks and it's just like it just when I see that I just see like that's just annoying to me when I look at it. But I understand that that's not an easy thing to make sure that it never when you have hair and these other items which are all customized to make sure that they all have the right kind of collision detection, so items don't go through it and this and that isn't the simplest. But yeah, anyway, but yeah. It does share a lot of similarities with Soul games, with the gameplay. You have to dodge, hit, repeat, really get your load out to work for you with your equipment, attaining new abilities, figuring out what type of styles work best for you, and but you can change your styles like in the battle in the menu to kind of utilize all these different abilities, and you got to go to the kind of the save point really, so you can like save all your kind of blood. Let's just put it that way. It gets so confusing between Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and this now. It's just like they're all kind of basically the same, all technically part of that whole From Software blueprint. Uh, but yeah, it's one of those games it does share a lot of similarities to that. But I will try my best to play through this game as I have been enjoying it, and I have found it a tad more, I don't know, accessible for me personally than with, let's say, like Elden Ring. Like that's the last like Souls game I played. Not finished it. I thought Elden Ring was it was okay, and give it a go, but just not my cup of bag. I understand the good things of it, but I don't think it's that great. But yeah, there are nice things about this game. There are some kind of a bit meh things about the game, but the game does control very well. It does. It is quite actually easy to play with it. Everything's kind of responds quite well, but it does follow that blueprint. And if you're into like the Souls type of games, then this is probably going to be up your alley, to be honest. And when you look at its Metacritic, it sits at like a 70, which what, like a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I can kind of see that to this type of game being a 7 out of 10. Really, it kind of has that whole feeling. If you're a Souls fan, you might go like, no, this is more like an 8 out of 10. Blah 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 blah. But it is quite a linear path type thing. It's not like a massive open world like Elden Ring, but its user score is slightly higher than the critic score. It sits at a 7.8, so the fans generally kind of liked it a little bit more, which what I can see also, because it is of that. It has a nice look to it, has a nice feel to it, plays well, is very enjoyable. Or never going to be for everyone. I didn't actually realize it was a Souls-like game until I started playing it, because I thought it was like a standard kind of RPG, anime style like RPG, and I was like, yeah, I'll be into that. Boom, boom. But yeah. Anyway, that's its Metacritic. So my thumb scores for this game, my game score, I think it's a pretty good game. It's not the greatest of game, but it is that kind of like 7-ish out of 10 for me type thing. But I feel like I'm going to go with I think it's on that cusp, but I'm kind of going to be more kind of down the middle shot and give it a thumb in the middle. It is that teetering of that thumb in the middle to a bit of a 3/4 of a thumb, because it is that point, but I kind of just got to not mess around too much. I'm going to give it a thumb in the middle. Not going to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it is good, and it is quite enjoyable. So thumb in the middle games are not the terriblest, really. Even core of the thumb games aren't the most terriblest games, but it's just one of those things. Offering score, I think this is not a bad offering. If you're into the Souls games, then this is something to kind of wet your palate and kind of enjoy until something else comes up, which is of that. It's about 3.5. What did I say? It's nearly 3 years old, or is it nearly? Yeah, it's about 3.5 years old. So it's a little bit old, but it's one of those games that probably flew under the radar in a way. I'm not sure how well it sold, but as an offering score, I think I'm going to go with another thumb in the middle, because I feel like it does cater for a certain type of people, and is kind of if you start playing it, like me, I personally have got into it. I'm not gonna delete it off. I am actually gonna try play through it. I'll probably get to like 60% through the game and like kind of give up. But anyway, I will still try my best to finish it. Now on to our last title for March 2023, and that is Battlefield 2042. This came out in the November 2021, so it's about a year and a bit old. And well, this is like Battlefield is like EA's competitor for Call of Duty, and I see kind of Battlefield 2042 being EA's competitor for Call of Duty's Warzone. That's kind of what I get for it. That's why I see it, because it is like a multiplayer only type thing. This was originally released with like tons of bugs and issues and a lot of backlash and a lot of people saying like, what the heck? But just to confirm at the start, there are still tons of bugs. But I didn't really come across anything which really stopped me from having some sort of enjoyment. It was probably more the issues I came across of when I looked at it and went, oh, they've still got work to do, or that looks silly type thing. It wasn't like crashes, this can't play, it's just like getting stuck in levels. I didn't have that. It's still very much playable, really, still very, very playable fully. But this has a full character and weapon customizations with loadouts, and but it's a lot of it's like locked up under a grindy leveling up system and a battle pass, which I kind of find it a little bit annoying when playing it, because I'm like, all right, this, and it's like, oh, you got to get to level 40. I'm like, what, just for this weapon? That's crazy. But it's just one of those things for these games. It's like, do I want to really kind of play to grind to level 40 so I can put this machine gun in my load or whatever? It's just like, it's just super annoying. Now, I do really like some of the old Battlefield games, like the Bad Company series, the mainline series I've always enjoyed. I really love the Hardline and its multiplayer. I played a lot of the multiplayer on that one. I thought it was good, and I've always been tempted to kind of go back and see if it's still what it's still like, because I had a lot of fun. It was the whole kind of like cops and robbers type thing. I found it a lot of fun. But with 2042, because my joy of some of the old ones, I kind of wish there was some sort of single player story mode in this instead of it just being a multiplayer game. But that's just my preference. So I do like a nice kind of story mode, just like a single player campaign. Just put it in there. That's what I like. You're gonna get more enjoyment out of me and more time me spending on the game. But the game itself does play very well, and if you're like me, you probably kind of suck, but you still have a lot of fun playing it. The maps are massive; they are really massive, and that's what they have with some of these Battlefield games. Is the maps are just so big. I'm personally not a lover of the massive maps. My favourite like kind of multiplayer map is Nuketown in COD. It's nice, small, chaotic, and a lot of fun. That's me, because I do find you get a bit lost with the sheer size of some of these maps. Even when you're using a mini map, you're like, oh god, where am I going? So yeah, it's a lot. And the map design in general, really, because they are big, but the map designs are actually really good, and the amount of like underground and accessible areas really adds to the scale of the map. So there's a lot of nooks and crannies for you to go in and out of, and they've done a very good job of kind of making this big map, but also adding lots of things into it. It's not just like an open field. There's a lot to these maps. So they've really done well with the design for me personally. I'm not a map designer, but from my playing it, I feel like they've done a pretty good job. And the game, if you've played a Battlefield game and multiplayer, this controls like the previous, for me personally, from my recollection. It controls very well. You'll be able to just jump straight in and you'll just start having fun, because there's nothing you need to know. It kind of, everything controls very well. I haven't had a problem, and that, and using the vehicles are pretty much easy to control. Well, actually, apart from the helicopter, as that is just absolutely terrible. It is the worst of the vehicles. It's just like I've played many games where you use helicopters, and this is just the worst. I just could not control it. It just, none of it made sense from previous games I've controlled. It was just too responsive, and I ended up just within a couple of seconds, getting up, trying to turn. It was just so awkward, and I just kind of barrel rolled and crashed. And I was like, that is just terrible. That is just a horrible vehicle. It's just, but enough on the helicopter. The only one I didn't get to try is the jet. But I have used the jet in some of the previous Battlefield ones, and I wasn't a lover of that. It is a bit messy, but I do really like getting in a vehicle, not driving it, but being on one of the guns and using it and taking out. That was a lot of fun. I did find myself jumping into other people's vehicles and getting on the weapons. But I did find myself constantly dying in the larger player maps, because there are so many players. You will constantly find yourself being killed from somewhere, and it probably doesn't help if, for me, when I'm trying to spawn as close to the action as possible. So as soon as I'm in the action, boom, hit. And I'm like, oh god, and then you call out to be revived, or you kind of just go straight to respawn. But yeah, it gets a bit crazy with all these people. I think you can have up to 128. I think it is 64 v 64. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And yeah, it's crazy. But as I said before, this game has bugs. And it has issues and stuff, and I'm just going to talk about some of the ones which kind of have bugged me, or when I saw one of the most, because it's one of the most important things of when you play some of these games, and this one had a lot of issues when it came out. And I have to say, within the first, not even 10 minutes, I came across a helicopter standing still with a player or an NPC, not sure what it was. I'm assuming it's supposed to be the pilot. It was just hovering, just standing like under it, which was hilarious. It was hilarious, but also quite sad at the same time. I'm like, why does this happen to everyone? This is ridiculous. Like, come on, guys. Why is such a stupid bug in this game? It was just really disappointing to see something like that, even though it was funny. I did occur like a few camera issues with like clipping into buildings in the floor, and even when kind of going into a vehicle, when you kind of zoom into a vehicle when you've kind of spawned into it, the camera goes a bit funny, I think. And because especially these ones occur when you're in vehicles. You did had these things happen quite a few times, but yeah, it's that kind of stuff. What is there? But there's nothing really major from what I've seen now. But what I have seen is just a lot of little poor design problems for me personally. And the one that just comes instant to me, which really, really bugs me, and it's so small. It's but when you're going through some sort of fountain, and you see some water spraying up into the air, And then you look at it and you're like, okay, that's just like water, fountain water, just been coming up from the spurter, wherever it's called, and then you look and it's coming from nothing. It's just there it is. It's just random bit of water just being sprayed up. Was it so hard to just put some sort of crack so there's like a crack and it's I don't know, shooting some air up, or like the actual part of the fountain that spurts the water? Like, why was it so hard not to do that? And after playing this, and after playing like Fallout 76 the previous month, these things are like they're kind of have this. They've had the same problems, not they're different problems, but where these are kind of like these kind of online games of these big franchises, and they've come out and they come out in like a broken state, really, when they released. And to me personally, this will always continue to be the problem with these online kind of like multiplayer type games, because they're going to just think, let's just get it out and fix it as we go along, because to me it's not a good look, and I think it does put a lot of people off when they do that, and they're like, oh, I'm going to think about before purchasing something from that developer or something from that franchise again. It does put a lot of people off. But like Fallout 76, I think they've come a long way, and they've put more into it, and it is a better game to be playing. And also, I do have to say, a bit like Fallout 76, you can obtain a physical copy for somewhat cheap, not as low as Fallout, but quite cheap. I have seen it like sitting around for quite low-ish, not ridiculously low. But when I was in Australia last year, around about probably, I think maybe it was around about April-ish time, I saw it being sold for Amazon for $9 Australian on PS5. I was so tempted to just get it, because I knew it had all these issues. I was so tempted just to get it and see what all the problems were all about. But I'm kind of glad I didn't kind of waste that $9 and I used it to buy some Tim Tams instead. Because, I wouldn't be able to get that $9 back, and it would have been a waste now, considering we've got it for free. So yeah, but when we look at its Metacritic, the PS4, there is no Metacritic score. The PS5 sits at a 63, which, I can kind of get in its current state, really. I can kind of get it. And I think because I didn't play at the start, I can't really tell. But when you look at the user scores, that's where you go, oh my god. The PS4 user score sits at a 1.7. That's just crazy. Personally, I think that's just crazy. And then when you look at the PS5 Metacritic, that's a 2.6. You're like, whoa, that is just, what is going on here? And then when you kind of just look at the user reviews of kind of what people have like been saying, and even if you look at kind of what's been come out by date, like this year, someone's giving it a 7, free on PS5 Plus. That's no reason to give it a 7. Someone says giving it a 3, missing the feel of Battlefield. Just it isn't a good game overall. No campaign. Someone's giving it a 10. I'm going to ignore that 10. Seems a bit dodgy. 8. I can probably see someone probably giving it 8 if they really like it. Someone's giving it a 1. Can't play with K and M. Whatever that is. I got it for free and I still feel like I was scammed. Bit sad. And there's someone like, what's that? February 0. I'm always in the back. I'm always in the front. Oh, where the mice go wrong. It's like some of these user reviews are just ridiculous, and like, has anyone actually played this game? And that's why the whole user review thing is a bit kind of suspect, because you don't know if these people are trolling, being idiots, or what. Have they actually played the game? You should have had to play the game for a minimum of like 3-4 hours and be able to prove it to give some sort of user review. And that goes with a lot of games that have been released, a lot of people have just been user score bombing them, and it's just, and even user score raising it, people giving games tens when they're not tens, and people giving games zeros or ones, and like anything under a three or whatever, just bombing it, but just because they're just idiots. And it's just like, come on, be truthful. Don't you're just making something that's supposed to be there to be helpful just be broken because you're just so petty. But yeah, not good user scores on it. Now, for my thumb scores, what do I do? Now, as a game score, you know what? I have kind of enjoyed it. I don't think it's that great. I think it would have been, I would have preferred it not to be just a multiplayer and have a single player. So by it just being a multiplayer game, I'm just going to go with a thumb in the middle. But it does play well. It is fun. But kind of some of that kind of grinding thing kind of does put me off a bit, just to kind of open it up and get more weapons. It's just like, like I like leveling up, but you should do it in a way where you can do it a bit quicker and you can unlock things a bit quicker. But if you want things to be more of a grind, maybe add some sort of other thing in there to unlock. I don't know, but yeah, it's just like, it's good, but I think it could have been a whole lot better in general by having some sort of single player. Really, if there was a single player on this as well, you'd think looking at a 3/4 of a thumb up easily. Even if it was just like an okay-ish single player, but it would have just got that, just because I think like it would have made it more of a fun game for me to jump in and play. But I'll keep it and I'll play it. But as an offering score, it is only about 15 months old. It has had its downs, not so many ups, but I think it is on the way up. But I know the game has had a massive boost by coming on PS5 and PS4. The player count has come in, and that's what these people want. They need the players coming in, so they can sell all the little trinkets, all the battle pass and stuff, and get people in through that door. But I don't think it's great. I was tempted to give this a solid thumb down, but I changed my mind, and I'm going to give this an offering score of a quarter thumb up, because it is rather playable, and you can actually have a bit of fun, really. And if the Battlefield multiplayer in previous titles has been your jam, then you're actually going to really enjoy this, I think, because there is a lot of fun to have it, haven't it? I just would have preferred probably. I think they should have added more compact, smaller maps of like 12v12 or whatever it may be, but also have the bigger scale stuff. I think that would have been so much better, and given more of a rounded thing, and probably it brought more people in, of people who like the massive scale and the small scale battles, and would have been given the chance of probably bringing in some really interesting ideas and maps to it. But hey ho, it is what it is. Well, now we've played through all the games. I've given my scores. Now it's try to look at and give an overall final score for the month of March. And we started off with Minecraft Dungeons. It's an alright game. It's very repetitive. It's something probably for a younger audience. And even more, I think it is a game better played multiplayer and not played solo, because you will kind of get bored quite quickly. But it was alright. I gave that a game score of a quarter thumb up and an offering score of a quarter thumb up, where I could have easily gone a thumb in the middle for both of those, but I decided to kind of give it a be not so nice to it. And our second game was Code Vein. I didn't realise this was a Souls-like game when I started playing it, and I suck at Souls, but I have been enjoying it, and I am going to give it a go and try complete it. But I think it's good, Souls with an anime visual look to it. It's enjoyable, and it is a challenge for me personally. If you're not into the whole grinding thing, then it's definitely not going to be for you. I gave that a game score of a thumb in the middle and an offering score of a thumb in the middle. Now, to wrap the month up, we were given Battlefield 2042, the game that had a lot of issues on release, but it looks like DICE and EA have done a bit of work and they've tried to make amends to it, added some more modes, added some more maps. Hopefully they continue to add to it and give more support and don't lock it all behind a paywall, and put as much of it as free as possible to bring those players in, because all they do is they want it to be a Warzone competitor, and for it to be a Warzone competitor you really have to be giving it away for free. That's what I gotta say. Now, I gave that a game score of a thumb in the middle, basically because it doesn't have a single player campaign, and an offering score of a quarter of a thumb up. So yeah, that was those games. So if we look overall for the month of March, what would I give my thumb scores? Well, I think an overall game score for March, it's just okay. I think I would just go with a thumb in the middle. Really, it could have been a lot better, but it could have been technically a lot more worse. It's just there. It's nothing special. As an overall offering score for the month, this is one that could have been even worse or even probably slightly better, but I've just kind of gone it this way because I feel like this is probably the fair way to do it. So I've just gone with an offering score of a quarter of a thumb up. It's not the greatest, but it's also another thing that probably could have been a lot better or a lot worse in a way. But it's okay. But it's definitely not a massive win for PlayStation fans. But it's also not it's not a loss. It's not an L. It's just there in the middle, more or less. It's just like meh. It's all right. You can either love it or you're not gonna love it. Really, I think it's one of those months. It is. But anyway, that is all the games played, and me spoken a lot of rubbish about them. I've given my scores for each game, and I've given my overall score for the month. That is PS Plus Plays March 2023 done. Let me know in the comments what games you liked. Did you like any of them? Did you think it was a bad month? Do you think it was a good month? What do you think about previous months? What do you want in the future? Let me know in the comments, and we can discuss things. But anyway, please like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a couple of videos that I'm working on, but family and work, it just takes a lot of time while also trying to do these videos, so it's all a bit slow. Hopefully one day maybe I'll have a bit more time to put more focus on. But anyway, until next time, take care guys. Remember, like and subscribe. Bye.